Hey guys, Ashley here. Today we're going to cover every single card in Clash Royale, and I'm going to share my opinion on my favorite counter to each one of these cards. I haven't seen a YouTube video like this before, and I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of a beginner or even intermediate player, and I think it might be useful just to share what my opinions are, rapid fire format, on a good counter to every single card in the game. And maybe some of these cards will just share one or two counters. I think it would be easier if I go to the arena screen maybe, and we'll just do it in order of the order you unlock these cards, starting with training camp. So we'll start with arrows. Arrows, well, it doesn't really have a counter, but they're not very good against high hit point units, but they're very effective offensively against low hit point units. The bombers or the wall breakers, you can take those out with a knight. Knights do very well against the bombers. Archers can also be taken out by a knight. They can also be taken out by spells such as arrows, or if they're in a clump, a fireball. The best counter for a knight, in my opinion, are minions or a minion horde. A fireball does a little bit more damage than arrows, a significant amount of more damage, but it also costs one more elixir. It's good against huts and if you hit the hut at the same time as a tower. A mini P.E.K.K.A. can easily be distracted by a skeleton or a knight and then backed up by some goblins or spear goblins. A musketeer can be countered with a knight if placed behind her. A giant can be countered with minions or a minion horde, or even a musketeer that is protected. A prince can be countered. My favorite card to counter a prince is the tombstone. It spawns those skeletons afterwards, and for 3 elixir, you're able to stop a prince. Baby Giant, Musketeers very effective against the Baby Giant. And let's go ahead, Skeleton Army here. Arrows, very good against Skeleton Armies. Obviously, if you distract the army with skeletons yourself, you can also do that. A Witch is a very good Knight against a Witch. If you place a Knight behind the Witch, very, very effective there. Spear Goblins can be taken out with arrows. Goblins can also be taken out with arrows very easily. Goblin Hut can be taken down with a lightning spell. Fireball certainly does a good amount of damage to it as well, especially if it's placed next to a tower. A Valkyrie can be taken out with a Knight will actually beat a Valkyrie if they're the same level. Also, minions do very well against Valkyries, obviously. Lightning spell, like I said, best used against high value real estate. Goblin Barrel can be the best card to take out of Goblin Barrel is a well-timed arrows right before the goblins spawn. So right after you see the barrel going in the sky, place those well-timed arrows right on your tower, and they'll hit them as soon as they spawn. Skeletons can be taken out by pretty much everything, but they're still a very useful card. At only 1 elixir can buy you some time against a Goblin Barrel, for example. Minions can be taken out by a wizard or by a arrow, certainly as well. If you go ahead and go to the next card here, we have the Tombstone. Tombstone can be taken out by any tanky unit and any non-tanky unit, really, but they do spawn those skeletons, so you have to be prepared for that as well. A Bomber Tower can be taken out by minions, or any tanky unit such as hogs or defensive targeting units. So a giant, hogs, certainly balloons can take out these defensive units, especially ones that don't target air troops. Giant skeletons, very easy to distract, so if you distract a giant skeleton with, say, a knight, and then back them up with some spear goblins, very good combo against a giant skeleton. Balloon, you can use a musketeer, a wizard, certainly any air targeting unit. Minions do really well against balloons. Cannons, obviously minions as well. Barbarians, minions as well. You're noticing a theme here. Minions, very effective counter card. A rocket does cost 6 elixir, similar to the lightning spell, so just be careful that if you're going to use it, you're getting at least 6 elixir worth of damage from it. Barbarian Hut can be taken out with a rocket, for example. A rage spell, well, we're not going to really counter a rage spell. You can use a freeze, I guess. An X-bow can be countered with minions, certainly, obviously, any tanky unit, but you have to account for it quick. Teslas cannot be taken out by a fireball or a rocket or a lightning. You have to wait till they're actually activated, so when they're hidden, just be careful that you don't try to use a spell against a hidden Tesla. A minion horde can be taken out with a wizard or arrows. Inferno Tower can actually be taken out with less tanky troops, like a Goblin Barrel, for example, or if you overwhelm it with troops. Hog Rider can be taken out with anything really quickly. You got to make sure you get on that Hog Rider quick, or he can be absolutely lethal. Skeleton Army is a great example of something that can take out a hog. A freeze spell you can counter with another freeze spell if you have one. Otherwise, you have to be ready with the elixir if you know your opponent has freeze, because it's a tough spell to counter, and people can certainly do some decent damage to a crown tower if you leave a freeze unchecked. Now, the P.E.K.K.A. is one of the 2 units that you absolutely have to account for. A P.E.K.K.A. and a Golem. You need to overload the P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A. can be distracted, so you have to distract him, and you have to put a lot of firepower on the board to take him down in terms of musketeers. Minions obviously do very well against him. A zap spell is very effective if you level it up against really low hit point troops, and it has a lower radius, a smaller radius than arrows do. The wizards are a very effective counter troop, but they're also very easily taken out with barbarians or a knight or a prince. Any tanky unit that doesn't besides the giant, obviously, or a golem, the defensive targeting units. The mortar can be taken out with, again, you're noticing a theme here, the minions. A knight, a prince can take out a mortar, obviously the hogs and the giants as well. And the last troop we're going to discuss today is the golem. Golems really need to be accounted for, just like the P.E.K.K.A., but the Golem's going to keep going and going and going and spawning those Golemites, so be careful. Make sure you have enough firepower on the board to take out that Golem. Minions do really well. Minion Horde does really, really well against a Golem. Guys, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with any of my counters? Do you have any better counters? Go ahead and share them in the comments. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from other future video ideas that you guys have. I want to make you guys happy, so let me know and I'll go ahead and bring them soon. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you were able to learn a counter or two, and as always, take care, guys.